Emptying out those closets? Donating old clothing? If you have gently used items that you're not using anymore, donate them to St. Vinny's thrift stores. Y'all, the money generated from your donated goods at St. Vinny's helps feed the hungry, clothe the vulnerable, and provide essential medicine to the uninsured. All your donations will stay right here in Dane County. Call St. Vinny's at 608-278-2920, extension 1 to schedule your free home pickup today. Hey, it's your host, Bianca, popping in to tell you about our new CityCast Madison Neighbors program. I know you've heard us talk about membership before, and many of you are already part of it. Well, it's got a new name. We're calling it CityCast Madison Neighbors because we've learned that people who support CityCast Madison are people who care deeply about the city and want to make it better. They're just the kind of neighbors this city needs. We're also adding benefits. CityCast Madison neighbors still have access to ad-free podcast listening and an exclusive weekly local events preview. But now you also get regular events like happy hours with other CityCast Madison neighbors, local volunteering meetups, and other members-only events where we explore and better our city together. And you get to shout out a local business or nonprofit you love on the show and in the Madison Minutes newsletter. For $10 a month, you can become a CityCast Madison neighbor today by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. We couldn't make the show without people like you supporting it, and we're so excited for you to be a part of it. Thanks a million. Today on CityCast Madison. Welcome to the Friday News Roundup. UW-Madison international student visas have been restored, BRT has a tentative green light to expand, and we're talking neighbors in the best way. It's Friday, May 2nd. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. All right, let's get into it. Joining me today here on this podcast is the leader of the podcast, Haley Sperling. How are you?
I'm so good, Bianca. Happy to be here on this Friday News Roundup.
Yes, and also our newsletter editor, Rob Thomas. What's good?
Hey, happy Friday. We're back together.
Also, want a quick shout out that we've got a special bonus episode of CityCast Madison coming out next week. It's a sponsored interview with the Minocqua Visitors Bureau. All about the fun, recreation, and beauty you can find in Minocqua, a vacation destination that's just 3 hours directly north of Madison. So look forward to that. All right, before we dive into this Friday News Roundup, it's the last day of our membership campaign, and y'all have been showing out. Truly, thank you so much. Thank you to those of you also who I know are about ready to join.
Yes, we seriously have the best listeners and newsletter readers out there. Y'all care about this city so much, and it shows. It's so, so incredible.
Yeah, we're just so grateful for everybody who showed up for us. And if you need one little tip to put you over the top, this being the last day means the last day you can get one of our cool CityCast mugs. They're kind of a diner style, like a nice heavy-duty ceramic mug. So, yeah, get on that.
Yeah, you're not going to see this style again. And if you see other people with it, be like, you could have joined at that moment. But you missed out.
She's a limited edition. You know, we've done swag in the past. We've done tote bags, you know, and there'll be more swag to come. But if you are swag driven, I mean, I say this because it is me. Go do it. It's a good mug. It gives me like Twin Peaks vibes. Like you sit down at the diner, you get your coffee in the mug, and you have a slice of cherry pie, right? I'm just thinking about Twin Peaks. It's a rainy day.
Damn good cup of coffee. Yep.
Damn good cup of coffee.
Damn good coffee. And you know what? I like walking around my neighborhood with coffee. I like walking around the city. And you know what we can do? We're trying to make our city feel more like a connected neighborhood. And with this membership program, I feel the movement starting for sure. So if you want to join us, head to membership.citycast.fm. All right, it's time for the Friday News Roundup, and I'm kicking us off this week with the story at UW. We've got a follow-up for the story on international student visas. 27 students and alumni got their visas and records restored late last week. UW-Madison announced that in a press release on Monday, so those visas were reinstated, meaning that the impacted international students and alumni can continue their studies, return to classes and postgraduate training, and campus activities for now, which, according to the chancellor and other university heads, was a big relief. So as context to back up on how we got here, a few weeks ago, the Trump administration did a mass termination of visas of students just plucked from a federal database. And according to UW-Madison, they were not given reason for the initial visa revocations. That said, I did see in a Politico article that students across the country were, quote, targeted from this federal database who had minor and often dismissed legal infractions. So, it's quite chilling to find out that some students at UW all of a sudden had visas one day and then they were revoked by the federal government. Pretty scary feels, right? And then there's also, of course, the question as to whether certain students were targeted for their free speech activities on campus, like if they were around or involved at all with the pro-Palestinian protests that we saw at UW. But again, UW says that they and the affected international students were never given a reason why their visas were revoked. According to WPR reporting, the affected individuals would have been required to leave the United States immediately with no grace period had this reversal not happened. So this is really big news. These past few weeks have been filled with dozens of legal challenges to the administration for targeting international students. A number of judges across the U.S. deemed that the mass termination using this database was highly illegal. So I imagine the judicial pressure caused the administration to shift course on taking away folks' visas. And another recent step, a U.S. Department of Justice lawyer told a federal judge this past Friday that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, was working on a whole new system for reviewing and terminating visas. So this whole thing is very traumatic and having, as I mentioned, a chilling effect. UW-Madison's Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin was quoted in their news release saying, quote, "This situation was deeply troubling, upended lives, and created both fear and harm. I want to personally thank the many members of our community, along with local, state, and federal officials who work to assist our students."
It's wild. I mean, this whole situation it's so troubling from start to finish. I mean, we're not finished, but it's so troubling all across the board. And now people are still dealing with the ramifications of this situation. I was reading in the Wisconsin State Journal that, okay, these visas have been restored, but that doesn't negate the damage that was still done after their visas had been revoked, right? There's a court filing that includes 3 UW-Madison grad students, and it includes details about how after one of their visas was taken away, they lost their health insurance and then had to deal with all of these unexpected health problems. Another one who was working on a PhD in information sciences, she had to turn in her work laptop and then lost access to all of her research. And now she won't be able to make her research deadlines. There are so many consequences to this. And it's just we have disturbed people's lives in ways that are not negligible. This is huge. Just to flip back and forth like this, I can't even imagine what these students are going through.
Yeah, and as you said, Bianca, this was because they went through a federal database and just oh, you're in the database, you're out, without even checking to see what kind of infraction it was. There was this one student I wrote about who had a speeding ticket weeks before graduation, and she was supposed to leave the country, and basically a local judge stopped and said she would basically have paid $140,000 in tuition for nothing, right? And other people had, the charges dismissed, but they're still in the database, so they're out. So, the disconnect between that kind of sloppiness at the federal level and, as you said, Haley, the real world effect of that is chilling and very frustrating.
It is sloppy. And the one place that you don't want to see that level of sloppiness is the federal government. And yet here we are, slopping it up.
Right. Well, also when the pitch was making the government more efficient and work better for the American people. And, this is really frightening sort of news. So I should also note that I saw in a WPR article, they had spoken with a lawyer who said that not all of the rescinded visas will necessarily be reinstated, but the 27 folks we were talking about have been reinstated for now. So we'll keep following this. I also want to note that this week marks 1 year since UW students in Madison, Milwaukee created encampments to protest the war in Gaza and called on their campuses to demand divestment from Israel. This is all happening a year later with that backdrop. And while we're talking about a chilling effect, I do feel like we have to mention the news this week out of Milwaukee. The Milwaukee County Circuit Judge, Hannah Dugan, this is national news. As a reminder, Judge Dugan was taken into custody by the FBI last Friday and charged with 2 counts, one, concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest from ICE, and 2, obstructing or impeding a proceeding. So really big deal. There is an update there. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended her from her duties for the time being. That is, as they say, it's in the public interest as she's now facing 2 federal charges. So it's a super heated situation. Obviously, same topic on immigration. And some critics of her arrest are saying that this is a move being made to make her an example by the administration, specifically, to have a chilling effect on the judiciary. That's just like some of the backlash that I've seen. Haley, you actually had a conversation with a columnist, one of the folks who broke that story in Milwaukee recently.
Yeah. So earlier this week, we talked to Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel columnist Daniel Bice, who, like you said, Bianca, helped break this story. And it's gotten so much national attention because of all of the questions that it's bringing up and the implications that it's bringing up. Like, what kind of precedent does this set for our judiciary? What kind of precedent does this set for people who are going to court to either, address charges or to be witnesses? Are they now going to have to be worried that they're going to get scooped up by ICE if they're going to testify in a case that, has nothing to do with them? There's a lot of questions here. And as you said, the story has developed already. The Wisconsin Supreme Court temporarily suspended her from her practice, and now she's scheduled to appear in court on May 15th. And Rob wrote about this in the newsletter, but she has put together like this all-star legal team that includes a former U.S. Solicitor General to defend her. So like she's not messing around here, right? Like they said, all right, you want to make an example of me? I am going to fight this. So I highly recommend, if you're not versed on this story, to listen to our podcast from earlier this week. We'll drop a link in the show notes, of course. But you can hear me chat with Dan Bice about this. He's got some really interesting takes, of course, because he's on the ground in Milwaukee. And he mentioned too, some massive protests that came about this. Last weekend, I think he said like 700 people came out to protest. So people are really riled up about this because, to put simply, it's scary. It's really scary. So yeah, there's a lot for us to watch here. And I know the nation is watching as well.
Yeah, and I also saw a news story about a judge in Wisconsin who, after this happened, after Dugan was arrested, was like, I don't know if I should be going to my court. Just like, what does this mean in terms of our safety? Like, we need more guidelines from the state on how we're supposed to be handling these immigration cases if one of us is going to be arrested, So, yeah, definitely go check out that conversation. We are going to move on to talk about transportation news, which we know we love in this city. But before we get to that, let's take a quick break. Seduction, danger, and eternal consequences. Join Madison Opera for Mozart's Don Giovanni, a legendary classic that has thrilled and scandalized audiences from its first note to its last for centuries. According to his not-so-little black book, Don Giovanni has seduced thousands of women across Europe. Over the course of a dramatic few days, his misadventures come back to literally haunt him, as Mozart's brilliant score whirls people in and out of the Don's mist. This weekend only, take your seat in Overture Hall and experience captivating drama and sensational music in this enthralling masterpiece. You only have 2 chances to see Don Giovanni, so join in the excitement of opening night on Friday, May 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Or treat yourself to the Sunday matinee on May 4th at 2:30 p.m. What better way to liven up spring than with riveting scandal, opulent and deadly dinner parties, and supernatural revenge? Tickets start at just $20, so get yours today at madisonopera.org. Remember those fun nights back in the day at summer camp? Ready to make more memories? Camp Aldo is the adult summer camp event of the season, held on Saturday, July 12th from 2 to 7 p.m. at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center, located at 330 Femright Drive in Monona, Wisconsin. Camp Aldo is an incredibly fun day that supports kids' outdoor nature programs in Dane County. Expect rocket launches, tie-dye, friendship bracelet making, and other ridiculously fun competitions, like an additional ultimate relay that will have you reminiscing about your own camp days. And there are provisions. Tickets include unlimited locally brewed beverages and a reusable event cup. In other words, free beer. And food trucks will also be on site. There's a suggested donation of $60 that gets you into the event with the cup and the beer. So don't miss out. Sign up for Camp Aldo today. Reserve your tickets at aldoleopoldnaturecenter.org. All right. Hear ye, hear ye. We speak of transportation. We're leaving the judiciary behind.
Hear ye, hear ye. The buses are coming. You know, we've been talking federal cuts this and federal cuts that. When will there be some good money news? And y'all, I don't want to jinx it, but we might just have some right here. You guys remember Bus Rapid Transit, aka BRT, right? We're familiar?
Oh, big time, big time.
Of course.
We love the bus, or as my boyfriend likes to call it, the big Uber. And he's not alone.
That's
Madison.
The cheaper Uber. That's cool.
It is. It is the cheaper Uber, right? I took the bus recently to a concert and I was like, dang, $2 to get here? Love this. Anyways, Madison loves the BRT. The East-West line launched last fall to much fanfare thanks to more than $100 million in federal funding. You guys remember how into infrastructure we were during the Biden administration? How cool was that? I love that. Bridges, roads, buses, we got it all. And, you know, building on that, back in 2024, the Biden administration recommended more than $118 million in federal funds to help Madison construct its second BRT line, which would go north to south. And federal funding, that $118 million, represents more than 3/4 of the project's costs, according to the Wisconsin State Journal. So this is a huge, huge lift for us. Fast forward to today, there have been a lot of questions surrounding the security of this funding, that $118 million promise, given the Trump administration's proclivity for cutting funds for, well, you know, just about everything. And people are worried. People are really worried because back in March, Isthmus reported that Madison was at a, quote, high risk of losing those federal funds for the north-south BRT line. So people were sounding the alarm and people are getting worried. But now city officials are easing up on those concerns, it seems. They're saying that the project will continue to move forward pretty much no matter what. They say that the information they've received from the Federal Transit Administration is that nothing has changed right now and that the funding for the next BRT line is still ready to go. Again, for now, because we all know that this can change in a blink of an eye, and they're carrying on as business as usual. But even with that in mind, you know, because if funding does fall through, the city says that it's working on alternate approaches to bring the project to life nonetheless. And that could mean scaling back, not making all of the changes that they had initially planned. But the bottom line is that the bus route will still happen. This is the story that they're telling. This is what they're sticking with. And I hope it's true, you know? For context, the new route is about 12 and a half miles long, and it goes from Kennedy Road over on the north side to McKee Road out in Fitchburg. Rob's excited, our local Fitchburg correspondent.
BRT coming my way. I love it.
We'll get you on that big Uber soon enough.
Are you a Fitchburgian?
Fitchburger.
Fitchburger? Sure.
I like Fitchburger, but that's because
I
For the
personally I love
Fitchburgers.
Fitchburger. I love it. So yeah, shout out to the folks in Fitchburg. Our buses have been expanding. They're going to be more out in Verona these days. Metro expanded into Monona recently, so there's a lot going on. And this new BRT line, it'll share some of the already existing infrastructure that the city built around the first BRT line. So that's some efficiency there. And on top of that, the city doesn't have to buy any new buses to serve this route. If you guys remember, we replaced pretty much our entire fleet with these all-electric buses and the really big accordion buses, and they're super fun and efficient and whatnot. So exciting stuff. Some steps that we don't have to take this next time around. And as it stands, the city is in the planning phase of this process because, again, we know federal funding can go away. And they're still hopeful, though, that the new line will be open in 2028. And so for folks who are interested in learning more or who have questions, Metro is seeking public input on the project. They've got meetings over the next few weeks. They actually kicked off the first one this week. The next one is coming up at 4:30 p.m. May 13th at the Madison Labor Temple. And then there's another one on May 15th, again at 4:30 p.m. at the Fitchburg City Hall. And Metro says that where the meetings are held kind of determine what they'll be talking about. So at the Madison Labor Temple, they'll be talking about that South area, and in the Fitchburg City Hall, they'll be talking about that Fitchburg area. So we'll have more info on that and a link in our show notes for anyone interested in learning more about those. So I don't know, y'all. I'm personally, I'm not holding my breath, but we are cautiously optimistic about this one. It seems like. What do you guys think?
What I'm very excited about is the fact that they are looking at backup plans in case that federal money falls through, because as we said, and also, things seem to be able to change on a dime these days or on a whim. And so the fact that they're accounting for that and saying, look, we might have to make adjustments, but we're still full steam ahead that this is happening and we'll find other ways to do it is really encouraging. I mean, great if the federal money comes through, but
you're not holding your breath. Honestly, I was really nervous about this. As soon as the insecurity came into the conversation, I was like, oh, well, isn't that the story of history? We got an east to west line and then the north to south line that has more needs around equity and inclusion and trying to to make the city a more accessible place for all people. That one is the one that's now uncertain. Yeah, that's a big bummer. So I hope that this does still come through. I mean, I love to hear alternatives. Obviously, the first one was, that was one of the biggest things is touting. It's well, it's not us paying for this. And we really got federal dollars. And now it's okay, great. Now you're really going to need some private foundations, or I don't know who would have this kind of money to support it. Not being a naysayer, just being
just being realistic.
Just being realistic, just a little, concerned along with everyone else. But I'm glad to hear that there's some positivity around this. So
I think once they rebrand it as Big Uber, there'll be no trouble getting funding.
Until the lawsuit drops. No, just kidding.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
No, I was just in D.C. Last week, and honestly, I took the bus everywhere in the metro. It's just it's one of those things you have to make the culture. It is I'm going out. You don't want to drive your car if you're going out with friends or whatever. You don't want to have to worry about parking. So public transportation is the way.
It really is. And like we said, the city is trying to pave a path forward for this no matter what. They're looking into other grants. They're looking into that private donations. Maybe they hit up Uber, get some big Uber money, right? Who knows? I don't know. So either way, they're really hoping for North-South BRT in 2028. And I'm glad that you pointed out that this really is kind of an equity issue, Bianca, because it is. This is meant to serve our city's most underserved. And so if it goes away, that would be Madison walking back, I think, on so many of its morals. And so I think that this project, it is imperative that it goes through and that Madison walks the walk and backs up the talk that it talks. So I'm, again, cautiously optimistic about it all.
Yeah, we're all in this together. And you know what? We've got some neighborly news on the way, talking about us being neighbors. That's going to warm your heart. But before we dive into that, let's take a quick break. Yes, your mom wants you to call her. This Mother's Day, give her a call and give her an Aura digital picture frame. My sister lives 2,000 miles away, and I often miss her when I'm out doing something fun that she'd love. I have this photo of us roller skating on the boardwalk by Santa Monica Pier, and every time I see it, I feel the joy of that moment trying to skate and look cool. Aura Frames was named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter and featured in 495 gift guides last year. So the next time you need to call your mom, you can also send her a new pic of you from that trip you're telling her about right from your phone. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey CityCast, something I appreciate about the Cozy Earth Mother's Day sale is that they know motherhood looks different on everyone. So whether you're raising kids, dogs, or cane, all moms work hard and they deserve comfort. So let me tell you about these Cozy Earth sheets. They feel like cool water, in a sort of, is this the Ritz-Carlton or my own bedroom kind of way. The pajamas are what I imagine celebrity moms sleep in, buttery soft. You're looking for the right gift because the women who raised you feel like home. And they are going to love Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas, and I know this because it's 3:24 p.m. and I'm still wearing mine. To celebrate moms everywhere, Cozy Earth is supporting your favorite local podcast and giving our listeners a special promo. 45% off site-wide. This is a luxury brand, and that is a mind-blowing deal. Use Cozy Madison to take advantage of 45% off at CozyEarth.com.
We're back, and before we get to the next story, did y'all see all the new neighbors who just joined?
Yes, there are so many new neighbors that we've welcomed recently. Y'all are the best.
Yes, we want to thank you. Shout it from the hilltops. Laura K, Jim A, Sarah W, Maggie M, Barbara C, Megan P, Catherine K, Brian S, not even close to done, Molly M, Morgan H, James C, Jenna S, Sue T, Stephen S, Caitlin Z, and Samantha L. Woo! Beep, 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 beep.
That's incredible. Thank you, everybody. It's so gratifying to see people showing up for CityCast Madison. You guys know earlier this week, we had our first member event. We had a happy hour get together at the Muskie Lounge with our neighbors. And it was just so fun to meet everybody and sort of, put names and faces to the people we talk to and write to every day. I was thinking as I was writing the newsletter the next day, I was like, I was thinking of the people I'd met the night before. And like, Tanya will read this, or Courtney will read this, or BJ will read this. It was really cool. So thanks for everybody for coming out. It really made our day.
It was so fun. I mean, yeah, Rob, like you said, like to put faces with names. Like I know people get excited to see us because we are just voices in your headphones or a name on your computer screen, what have you. But like we are so excited to see you and see just the faces that make our community. Like it's so awesome. And it was so heartening to, hear everyone's words of support. And y'all have so many great ideas for stories, for future neighbor events. Like we are keeping track of this stuff and we've got some big plans in the works. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, it was a dream. Just like hanging out with you guys. It's the best of Madison. Just like such talented, smart, lovely people who want to be in community and feel good being engaged with Madison and what's happening around town. And honestly, we were really touched when one of our neighbors, Courtney, who attended our happy hour, said, quote, "Thanks so much for such a fun event, for all you do. It was great to meet y'all and some fellow listeners / readers / neighbors. And it was great meeting Courtney, like talking to her about, she was telling me about this place that is no longer around, but made an impact in her heart in Madison that had like NA drinks that were similar to kombucha, but better. And she's trying to get them in different, grocery stores and just talking about the things that matter to her. It's like, those are the same things that matter to me. So like coming together and talking about what we want from the city is huge. I'm still buzzing with the joy from this event. And while we're talking about new neighbors, with our new neighbors we just thanked, we are just 15 neighbors shy of reaching our goal. It's our final day of membership drive, and I know that 15 of you out there listening will show up for us, right?
I hope so. I really think that we can do this. It's coming down to the wire, but we are so hopeful that y'all got our backs, because you guys know we got you every day of the week with podcasts, newsletters, fresh takes, keeping y'all informed. And so if you've been thinking about becoming a neighbor, joining our membership program, now is a great time to do it. Please join us. I put the link in our show notes. It's super easy to do.
Yes. To get access to all those perks and join our neighborhood, sign up to be a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. Y'all, that's membership.citycast.fm.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very energized at the end of this membership campaign that we're going to make our goal. So thank you so much for those joining and those about to join our neighborhood. And speaking of which, I have a story about neighbors and the people that you meet as you're walking down the street. If you have little kids who watch Don Quixote, a show that's on PBS Kids, and I just got that pun right now.
I was going to say, is this a Don Quixote?
Yeah.
It is, and I just now I understood that.
I could see the wheels turning on your face.
Yeah, any good Cervantes pun for preschoolers, I'm down for. Yeah. So the characters on the show, they meet a fuzzy blue mouse named Jeff Mouse. And what you might not know is that little fuzzy guy was inspired by a true Madison hero. The man's name was Jeff Erlinger. He was born in Madison in 1970. And when he was 7 months old, he was diagnosed with a spinal tumor. And in the surgery to remove it, he was left a quadriplegic using an electric wheelchair. And he was the subject of like one of the most moving things you'll see on TV. He was a huge fan of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he was on the show in 1981 when he was 10 years old. And it's on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's just have you seen it? It's just such a beautiful segment that shows Fred Rogers, his compassion and his curiosity about other people. And like this was at a time when you hardly ever saw people with disabilities on television. And they just have this very friendly conversation and you know, just as equals. You know, Mr. Rogers asked him like why he uses an electric wheelchair, and Jeff kind of shows it off for him. And I mean, when they sing It's You I Like together, it's like just one of the most magical things on television. It's so incredible.
It's you I like, every part of you. Yeah.
Yeah. If you see the documentary called Won't You Be My Neighbor about Fred Rogers, they play that clip and they interview Erlinger's parents about how much it meant to him. And I think Fred Rogers said it was like one of his favorite things he ever did on the show. So Erlinger went on and became a very prominent disability rights advocate in Madison and across the nation. I mean, it was a huge platform for him. And he was very active in city politics. He served on several commissions, including chairing the Commission on People with Disabilities. He died in 2007 at age 36, but his impact can still be felt throughout the city. I mean, he's really the reason that we have accessible taxi cab service here in Madison. I know Union Cab offers that. And at Redenbaum Park, there's an accessible playground named after him. And so now there's a puppet. Jeff Mouse was named after Jeff Erlinger. And on the show, the little blue mouse uses an electric wheelchair. It's so cool because the show is produced by Fred Rogers Productions. And so it's this homage to Erlinger and Fred Rogers' neighbor. So I think it's really, really special.
Yeah, he was such a stand-up man. And also the city of Madison has an annual award each year that they give out in his name for civility and public discourse. And I always love seeing who gets awarded that, the Jeff Clay Erlinger Civility and Public Discourse Award. So I'd love to see this and continuing on in media.
It's such a beautiful story, and it's just so great to see that spotlight being shown. Like you said, Rob, like Jeff was showcasing his disability at a time when people with disabilities were just forced out of the light and forced to be invisible. And now we're saying like, hey, take a look at this. Like, this is important. And there are people out here who are making these huge impacts in our day, and they don't all look like you and me. And that's awesome. Like, it's the differences that make us unique and that help build a stronger community.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, we've talked a lot about neighbors the last couple of weeks with our membership campaign. And, we've had a lot of fun with the happy hours and the mugs and everything. But like, I think Jeff Erlanger really embodied the spirit of what we're trying to do here in our mission at CityCast Madison. You want to be connected to our city to celebrate, but then also push for ways to make it better. And I feel that's the mission that we really share with our neighbors. So I'll just re-up that this is the last day of our spring membership drive. So it seems a good time to ask everyone, won't you be our neighbor? And if you want to join us, visit membership.citycast.fm/Madison.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful story. I'm so glad you brought this one, Rob.
Yeah, I love
it's
it.
leaving me with all of the warm fuzzies, and we are lucky enough to have another warm and fuzzy story.
I've got all the good ones this week. Yeah, this fuzzy, furry, slippery, good story. Henry Vilas Zoo has been keeping a secret from us, but it's a very adorable secret. The zoo announced that back on February 8th, 2 new North American river otter pups, Ginger, a female, and Wasabi, a male. So 2 spicy otters were born to their mom Elva and their father Dragon Roll. So keeping the sushi theme alive. And the pups are doing great, and they'll make their kind of big debut for the public this Saturday at the zoo's Party for the Planet, which is a free event from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with activities, and local conservation partners like Save Our Songbirds will do demonstrations and talks. And they do this, and you can take home free tree saplings to plant. And the Dane County Regional Arborist Groups will have this really cool thing where they help kids climb up in the trees, the mature oak trees, so they can look down and see the animals from a different perspective. And one thing I noticed was that they will also offer wheelchair harnesses. So
amazing.
Kids like Jeff Ellinger, they can do it too. I think he'd be proud.
I love that these are additions to the zoo, because I feel like on a recent roundup we're talking about like what's cuter than a panda for getting people to want to care about the earth. And I was like, river otters, they're peak.
They're so precious. And can we talk about the names? Ginger and Wasabi and their father, Dragon Roll. Like, oh my God, I'm dying. They're so, I have just a very intense case of like cute aggression right now. I'm just looking at a picture of them and I just want to like squeeze their faces. They're so cute.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to squeeze the faces
I
at
shouldn't
them.
Be allowed. I shouldn't be allowed to.
You gotta watch out on Haley.
Watch out. I'm coming to take them. No, I'm not. I know you're not supposed to take the wild animals home. Yes. That's fine. They're living their best life in the zoo. Shout out to Henry Vilas Zoo for keeping them healthy. Yes. They've been keeping them secret, but that's because they had to grow up a little bit. Yeah. That's fine.
All right, y'all, go visit your new neighbors at the zoo. We're going to round up this roundup. Thank you so much for joining me for Friday. As always, Haley Sperling, thanks so much.
We did it.
And Rob Thomas, thank you.
It's been an utter delight, Bianca.
Oh, my God.
One dad joke to leave you with.
Yes.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. We're produced by Jade Isiri Ramos, Natalie Rivera, and Selena Saya Reynolds. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music by Tambor, Rosedale, S.J. Cromartie, DM, and Sarah the Instrumentalist from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor, with assistance this week from Adrian Gonzalez. Don't forget, you can always get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes. And hey, if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with your neighbor? Don't forget, it is the last day of our spring membership campaign, and you can be our neighbor by joining the CityCast Madison Neighbors Program today at membership.citycast.fm. We've got sweet perks like ad-free listening, member-exclusive events, and special to this campaign, an awesome diner mug. You don't want to miss that. But above all of those things, you'll also get the great and deep feeling of knowing that you're supporting local journalism and helping us tell our city stories for a long time to come. To infinity and beyond. If 15 of you join today, we will hit our goal. So, one last time, head to membership.citycast.fm. We know you got us. And remember to look out for our upcoming CityCast Madison sponsored interview next Wednesday with the Minocqua Visitor Bureau. Minocqua is a safe, fun vacation destination for everyone to enjoy up in the North Woods. And this conversation will let you in on all the hidden gems it has to offer. Alrighty, see you back here Monday morning with more news from around the city. Until then, have a good weekend.